you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
for?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border, and I want to drill.
That's not retribution.
I'm gonna be, you know, he keeps, we love this guy. He says, you're not gonna be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one.
That was former President Trump saying he'll be a dictator on day one of his second term. Here's more of my conversation with 3 women who served in Trump's White House. What would it mean, in your mind, if Donald Trump became president again? What would a second Trump term look like?
Fundamentally, a second Trump term could mean the end of American democracy as we know it. And I don't say that lightly. We all witnessed him trying to steal a democratic election before and going to historic and unconstitutional lengths to do so. And that just shows that he's willing to basically break every barrier to get into power and to stay into power. But also, I'm very concerned about what the term would actually look like.
We don't need to speculate what a second Trump term would look like, because we already saw it play out. To this day, he still doubles down on the fact that he thinks that the election was stolen and fraudulent. And then his rhetoric has just gotten increasingly erratic. I mean, he has literally called for things like doing away with parts of the Constitution, wanting to weaponize the DOJ to enact revenge on his political enemies.
The fact that he feels that he needs to lean into being a dictator alone shows that he is a weak and feeble man who has no sense of character and integrity and has no sense of leadership.
Everyone who is in the West Wing, and frankly a lot of cabinet secretaries, they know how dangerous Trump is. People who I have the deepest level of respect for, like my former boss, Vice President Mike Pence, he's seen more than any of us have seen. He knows more than any of us know. And I would just hope in this moment when we are less than a year out from, or basically a year out from the election, that he would think about speaking out more forcefully just about the unfitness of Donald Trump. This is not about politics, it's not about policy, it is about the character of the man who's the leader of the free world.
Yeah, 'cause even now, even 3 years later, almost, you know, there are many that haven't come out who know exactly what you all know or know more.
I think it's really easy to paint all of these Republicans with a broad brush and say that they're doing it for, you know, their own personal ambitions, which I think is a large majority of them. But I think another thing that we have to consider as a factor is that a lot of these people won't come forward even if privately they'll acknowledge that Trump is unfit or will privately acknowledge that the 2020 election wasn't stolen. It's because they know that they will face death threats, that their families will face death threats. I knew that coming forward and speaking out against Donald Trump, I could potentially face security threats or death threats, online harassment. Despite all the personal sacrifice, I knew that ultimately it was the right thing to do. And so I just would encourage others to come forward because we're running out of time in order to try to stop Trump from being in the Oval Office again.
His campaign theme is retribution. I mean, this is the centerpiece of his campaign. He says, I am your retribution. This is a tough question, but let me ask each of you, are you worried that you will face that retribution if he comes back in?
It is a very real concern. I've met with former cabinet secretaries very recently who are also on this, you know, potential theoretical list, and they're worried about it. Listen, I'll say this with Donald Trump is, what scares me as much as him and his retribution is the almost cult-like following he has over his most diehard supporters. The threats, the harassment, the death threats that you get when he targets you, and he's deliberate in targeting, is really horrifying and has no place in our American discourse, and it's unlike anything I've seen in the decades plus I've been in politics. I'm less worried for any like personal aspect for me, but it is, he knows how to use government better this time. He can put in diehard loyalists who can weaponize every level of government against his detractors, against the American people, against the media. It's almost too scary to fully wrap your head around what it could look like.
The American people and people in general have short memories, and so they might forget the chaos of the Trump years. And also they might not just be paying attention to what he's saying now and the threat to democracy that exists. And so it does really concern me if he makes it to a general that he could win. And so I'm still hopeful that we can defeat him in the primary, but we're running out of time.
Our singular focus needs to be, if he is the nominee, on making sure that he is not elected the president again next November.
Even if that means electing a Democrat.
It's really disappointing because I look at these options and I'm upset with them, but at the end of the day, I trust one person with our government and democracy than I do the other. And so I've never voted for a Democrat in my life, but I think that in this next election, I would put policy aside and choose democracy.
Right now, there's a large portion of the population that's not recognizing their mistakes, that's not working to continue to better our country. And right now, we're completely splitting down the middle. On one side, that's the truth, and that is reality, and the other side is propaganda and lies. This is a fundamental election to continue to safeguard our institutions and our constitutional republic. But if we crumble as a nation, we're setting the example for generations to come, not only in the United States, but on the global stage, that democracy is an experiment and it's not guaranteed. We're extremely fragile as a country, and so is the democratic experiment.
In response to our interview with these three women who worked in the Trump White House, the Trump campaign gave us a statement calling them, quote, ungrateful grifters who used opportunities given to them by President Trump to benefit themselves and who had gone, quote, full Judas.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.